Hi everyone, Brody here with Sew Yeah Quilting. Today I'm going to teach you how to make this quick and easy rippling diamond quilt. This quilt here we made in a darker color palette with Aboriginal fabrics. Today during the tutorial I'm going to use a lighter color palette, 2 pre-cuts by Moda, a solid, and a print. This print's called Purebred 2. Let's get started. Alright, so the first thing you need to do is get your layer cakes here, open them up, and you're going to take your print layer cake and you're going to take each one of the pieces, fold them in half like this. I do a quick little finger press, and then grab your iron, holding down the point, and you're going to iron a crease into your fabric here, just like this. So you're gonna do that with each one of your pieces. So I'm gonna show you again. Take your print, set it down, grab your corner, match it up with the other corner, hold it down with your finger, hold it in place. Grab your iron, careful not to burn yourself, and you're gonna iron a crease, and you're gonna do that in every single one of your fabrics. So I'm gonna do that, and we'll be right back. So now that I've got my prints here pressed into a triangle, just like this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my piece, open it up, you can see that nice crease in it, just like that. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna lay it down, do it under my camera here so you guys can see. And I'm going to take now our solid solid, and match it up right sides together like this. So what I'm going to do now is come over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew a line on each side 1/4 inch away from this seam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my little light here, set my 1/4 inch seam to, or set my seam to 1/4 inch, and I'm going to sew. Just like this. So now I've sewed a 1/4 inch seam on the one side. All I'm gonna do is lift my presser foot, flip it around, and do the same thing on the other side, just like this. Okay, I'm gonna do it one more time so you can see again. You can see here, I've got my seam, here the crease, and I've got the 2 seams. So I'm going to grab my triangle piece, open it up, just like this. Grab a solid, lay them on top of each other. Oh, right sides together. Just like this. Match up your 2 blocks here, pieces. Gonna set it down underneath my machine, do the same thing. What you're gonna do is you're basically going to sew all of them together just like this. So do it one more time so you can see. Set it down. You're gonna make your 1/4 inch seam. You can use the edge of your foot, or this machine has a laser light, so use the edge of your foot and put it right in the center of that crease, just like this. Cut my thread, flip it around here, put it right in the center, do it again. Okay, so now that I've sewn this, so you're gonna do that with all of your pieces here. So now that I've done this, I'm gonna show you how to cut these. So I'm gonna set this here, pull out my ruler and my rotary cutter somewhere. Okay, so now that I have my squares all sewn together, I've put the 2 pieces right sides together and sewn them. What I'm gonna do is cut them in half on the diagonal across them, okay? So I'm gonna set it down on my mat, and I'm gonna put the point of my block here on one line of the mat. So I'm going to put this here, I'm going to match up the point on the bottom here, I'm going to grab my ruler, and I'm going to line the ruler up right on that same line, just like that. Now, I'm going to cut basically just between the 2 pieces that I've sewn. So I've sewn on each edge of the seam that I've made here, and I'm going to cut down the middle now, just like that, okay? So I'm going to do that to a couple of the pieces here, and then show you the next step. So, again, set it on the lines, match up your point and your point, just like this. Grab your ruler, line it up on the same line. You're gonna cut between those two seams that you just made. Nice and easy, just like that. Come apart. You're gonna do that with your entire layer cake that you've sewn together. Now, after you've cut all your pieces, what you're going to do is, set this down, open them up, just like this, and you're going to press them from the light side to the dark side. I'm gonna show you how to do that here in just 1 second. But basically, I just open everything up like this, make a pile with them, and the best thing about this is after you're done sewing the two pieces together, after you cut the block and open them up, you get 2 blocks out of every single block that you've sewn. Okay, so like I said, you're gonna open these up, set them down, and you're gonna iron from your light side to your dark side, or from your solid to your print. Just like this, iron it open, set it aside, kind of start making a pile of them. Like this. So a lot of people are worried about making triangle quilts or making half square triangle quilts because they feel like they can't get their block square, they can't line up their edges or their points, but I'm gonna show you a quick and easy way to do that so that you won't have any problems with getting everything square and lined up. Okay, now that I've pressed open all of our squares, what you need to do is you're going to the design portion of your quilt. So there's lots of different ways that you can adjust your triangles or your squares to make different patterns. What I've done on this quilt here is taken 3 prints and put the print portion of the block up to the left and 3 and put them up to the right. You do that about so halfway down in your quilt, and you do the opposite. You do is take your print and you put it down in the bottom right corner and this one in the bottom left corner, and it makes this design. So you're gonna lay those out, you're gonna get them ready so you can sew them, and I'm gonna show you now how to sew them. Okay, so I've got a couple pieces here that I'm gonna sew together now. You're gonna line them up just like you would any other quilt block, and you're going to sew. I'm gonna sew a 1/4 inch seam down the block, just like this. Okay, now I got to the end of the block. You're going to open it up and do the same thing. You're gonna keep building on your blocks here. You can see, just like this, how they'll start coming together. This is the part where your design can really come to life. The way that we did our quilt was by mirroring our blocks, 3 blocks with the darker fabric pointing to the upper left corner and 3 blocks pointing to the upper right corner. You're going to build each row just like you would any other quilt, 1 block at a time. When you get to the middle portion of your quilt, which would be 4 rows down, you're going to do the opposite. Point your darker fabric to the bottom left corner on your first 3 blocks, then to the bottom right corner on your next 3. Another variation of this quilt is done by placing all of your prints to one side of the quilt until you reach the middle, then doing the opposite on the other side, like shown. Once you have built your rows, it is easy to get your points to match up and finish your quilt top. Here's how you do it. So now I've laid down my rows here, and what I'm gonna do is basically just grab a wonder clip or a pin. I'm gonna line up my points right here on the bottom. I'm going to clip them. Just like this. I'm not clipping the entire thing, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna tack my points here. So I've got my row clipped. I'm gonna set it under the sewing machine here. Let me show you how this is done. So basically, I'm going to go to each one of the points and I'm just gonna sew about an inch long seam over the point. So I'm gonna set it underneath the machine, 1/4 inch. Come forward a little bit. I'm gonna sew just like this. I'm gonna hold this point down. So right over the seam. I'm gonna stop, cut my thread. Lift up my presser foot. Go down to the next point here. You're just so you have a closer view here so I can see it here. You're basically just lining up the edge of your piece here, where you have your point, with the edge of your fabric, like this. It's kind of hard to tell because you've got all the excess on top, but just do the best you can. And then once you're tacking it, you'll be able to sew the whole thing after that. So I'm dropping my presser foot down, hold this in place, 1/4" seam again. If you have a walking foot, you can use a walking foot for this as well. It's not necessary, it does make it a little bit easier though. Kind of my last one here. And you can see, I'll just put it past the camera, you can see my edges aren't lined up here. I'm only lining up the points at this point in time, okay? Only lining up these seams, because that's the part that's most important. It's gonna make your quilt look good, is having your points all lining up. We'll do the rest later. Just like that. Now, I've tacked everything in place. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide back down to the end. And I'm gonna line up my ends now. So, line up this piece like this. Go ahead and put a clip on. And what you're gonna do from this point on is you're gonna do a little bit of pushing and pulling. So I'm gonna tack the top here, hold this in place. Just put a little quick seam. Okay, I've tacked it in place. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of open up my 2 rows and make sure that my seams, or my edges, are right on top of each other. So I've kind of put them in place. I got a little bit, I'll pull forward here so you can see it, a little bit of a bubble here, and I'm just gonna pull things tight to stretch it out. So, pulling things tight, holding everything good. I'm gonna sew here. As you can see, I'm getting right to the seam that I've already sewn. I'm just gonna sew right over the top of it. Just like this. Okay, now, again, I'm gonna line things up from underneath. Make sure everything is good. Hold it in place and sew again another about 10 inches here. Now line up again, doing the same thing all the way down. Line it up, hold it in place, sew. Sometimes if you're really out of square, what you can do is hold it, sew about halfway, like that, and then readjust again. So I got a little bit of a bigger bubble here. Just like that, adjust it. You've fixed all the issues you have, just like that. Last one, I'm gonna line up I'm gonna pull it forward so the camera can see. Line up my corners here, just like this, right on top of each other, and do any stretching and pulling that I need to get things to line up perfectly. Now doing this, the reason we do this is, 1, it's gonna help your quilt to not have any puckers in it, and 2, this gets us around having to square each one of the blocks individually. So this quilt here is made with 2 layer cakes, and when you're finished, the quilt has 48 blocks. So obviously you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, but it's got 48 blocks, that's a lot of squaring to do. This makes it so you don't have to do that. Okay, so as you can see, I've pulled the quilt off the wall, and I've got the 2 rows that I just sewed together, and I put them together with the rest of the quilt top, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm going to tack each one of these corners here so that we have perfect lines, and then I'm gonna sew the quilt all the way together and we will be done. I'm going to put it in here under 1/4 inch, just like we did. Just like that, I'm gonna sew a few inches. Okay, again, same thing as we did before. Going to line up our corners here, just like this. You can see here a good view of it. Here's our point. We're gonna make sure that we have the other one right on top of it. We're gonna sew a 1/4 inch seam, just like this. Okay, now that we've sewn our seams, what we need to do here is go back and finish it up. So everything's tacked in place. We know that our points are gonna line up now. Again, we've done no squaring, nothing like that. And we're gonna finish this. So this quilt you can literally do in just a couple of hours, especially if you do it with pre-cuts, because everything's already cut, you're just basically ironing and sewing. So I'm gonna tack the top again how I did. Like that. I'm gonna get everything ready here. Got my thread. This is the best part, getting to hold it up and see what you did. So, just like that, hold this up. Just like that, your quilt is finished. And like I said, 2 pre-cuts, quick and easy, a couple of hours, and you're ready to rock and roll. If you like this video, please click the like button, subscribe. There'll be a PDF down in the link. We'll see you next time teaching you how to sew like a pro.